Welcome back to the Posscast, where we dig through the sewers of Reddit to find the worst RPG horror stories.
Ah,
Ah, it's a rat.
hey, that's my joke that you stole.
What
Rogue!
can I say? I'm a rogue. Stealing is what I do.
It's what I do, Jim.
Now, at least I'm not, Oh god, what's her face? Who's the comedian that stole jokes and talked about her smelly vagina?
We can't talk about that in the video?
Oh god, she's like a really bad comedian because it's like her only joke.
Amy Schumer.
Yes!
Amy Schumer, but also, we're less than a minute into the video. You can't say words like vagabber.
Yeah, okay. It's fine. Anywho, we got a lot of we got a couple stories. I'll go first since I won the coin toss. For context, we recorded like 2 minutes worth of content and then had technical difficulties.
It was more like 5, but yeah.
Either way, it was really early into the video, so we're just restarting rather than like having to edit.
We'll
Okay.
have to learn to one day.
No, what we're gonna have to do is once we get the channel monetized, we'll hire an editor to do it for us. Okay, so the story that I'm reading is called "Rules Lawyer Outsmarts Himself and Then Has a Fit" by T. Garrison. It was posted yesterday at the time of this recording,
Nerds.
which means it was posted about a week ago by the time this goes up. So, I had a player who played in a couple of campaigns. He was known for being a rules lawyer and was a bit of a pain to start. Though I was relatively new to running games, he was reliable and local, which is a big plus when you live in a relatively rural area with a small pool of players. When we first got started, he would challenge me on rules mid-game. To keep things going, we defaulted to Rule 0 after some pushback, and every game was followed by a 1 to 2 1 to 2 page single space emails detailing the areas where he disagreed with my decisions. A few times I did not retcon, but made clarified rulings for how things would proceed if it seemed like I was making an incorrect call at the table. The vast majority of the time, it boiled down to, "This is the way that we're playing my game. Sorry if you disagree. Feel free to run a game by your rules. I'll even join as a player." So, we started a long-running campaign in the crazy homebrew world during the heyday of D&D 3.5. There were 6 players. I allowed some third-party content, so everyone had slightly overpowered characters. Rarely do a group of players complain if they have too strong abilities, after all, and this was mostly a fun game. It didn't stop the long post-game emails, though, and they continued to get longer every week from Mr. Rules Lawyer, finally topping out at 4+ pages after every game session.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that person has a lot of time on their hands. So, we had played a campaign from level 1 to level 12 over more than a year when they decided to try and rob the very well-protected vaults belonging to a lich.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you don't want to rob a lich's vault, at least not until after you kill them.
I made the mistake of doing that and then never getting around to getting to his phylactery because it was in a DC 30 fucking puzzle box.
You know what? That's fair. I would have just taken the hammer to it.
The thing is, he was a fairly new lich. Still had his flesh on him.
Oh, nice. What if you just destroyed the puzzle box with like a disintegrate spell?
Our wizard was unable to play.
Aw. Though if I was the DM, I
So
probably...
we sent him to Modron.
Oof. Though if I was the DM, I probably would have made it out of, like... I would have had it be enchanted to reflect spells. You know? Like some basic protection to stop the most obvious solution, you know? Okay. So, let's see. Vault belonging to a lich. It was known this place was heavily trapped, and the one gap the group had struggled with the entire time not having a rogue. Okay, so the group did not have a rogue. They came up with...
Fool's errand.
Yeah.
At the very least,
hire an NPC.
Was Artificer around in 3.5?
I don't think so.
Well, literally anybody can become proficient with thieves' tools.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, literally anybody can have them and make a deck and make a flat D20 fucking.
At least hire an
check.
NPC. At least hire a rogue NPC to fill the gap. So, they came up with inventive ways of finding, triggering, and dodging traps. I was fine with this. After the umpteenth trap in this particular session, they had located yet another magical trap. The rest of the party retreated 60 feet around a corner, with the intention of sending a summoned minion to trigger it. Mr. Rules Lawyer mocked the rest of the group for their cowardice and explicitly stated, "These traps always have a radius of 30 feet. I'm going to stand back 31 feet from the trap and watch it go off."
Oh no! That's not how it works, you man, you guy.
Yeah, that's called arrogance. This particular trap happened to be a circle of death, which in 3.5 had a radius of 35 feet.
Oh.
I was doing my best to keep the devilish DM grin off my face, particularly since this was the third time he'd found one of these, and I knew he was making a potentially fatal mistake with his character. The trap triggered, the spell went off in the full radius, and Mr. Rules Lawyer rolled a natural 1 on his saving throw. Immediate character death results. First he whines it isn't fair, then he suggests I lied about the radius. After looking up the spell, he then accused me of changing the trap type after he declared where he was standing. So I showed the whole group my notes and the trap map for everything they had covered. And I had written it all up on Word and printed out these notes, so it wasn't like I could easily change them with my pencil at the table. The rest of the group,
Times New Roman, size 12 font.
Oh man, not Arial Black.
Arial Black, size 12.
Yeah, single
Death
space. Okay. The rest of the group rested, and the druid prepared a reincarnate to bring Mr. Rules Lawyer's character back to life, since he was their cleric. Rolling on the chart for a random reincarnation race, it was going to turn Mr. Rules Lawyer's character into a human, which isn't that bad. And even if it was going to change up his stats a bit, and they weren't getting high enough that with some effort and a side quest they couldn't have gotten back to they couldn't have gotten his original race back. Instead, however, Mr. Rulesler said his character would be offended to come back as a human and would never do so. That the character's soul would rather stay dead. I asked to confirm, and the players told him to stop being dramatic. He insisted on this. I stated, the reincarnation fails because the character's soul declines to come back. The body dissolves into ash, and they are permanently dead. Mr. Rulesler then threw a fit about being permanently dead. I didn't budge. He chose death for his character over inconvenience, and I wasn't going to let it slide. I was happy to have him roll up a new PC, especially since the Lich had an entire area devoted to unique specimens coming up. So it was the perfect place for the party to find a new PC and get back into the game. That night, I received a 6-page diatribe after the game.
Oh boy.
Mr. Rules Lawyer's final ultimatum was that I should allow his character to come back as a ghost which can possess the bodies of other characters, both PC and NPC, with no saving throws, and while possessing a body, the ghost gets to keep all of his mental stats and the character class abilities while gaining the body's physical stat and racial abilities. This possession had no time limit or way to end other than when I find a more suitable host, I'll just move on. This was clearly broken, and in no way sane power to grant to any PC or even an NPC. No saving throw versus indefinite possession. No way, no how. I declined, and he insisted he was never coming back, which I confirmed was correct. And then permanently disinvited him from this and future campaigns with me. I printed out the entire exchange to share with the other players so that they would know why I did this, and they were amazed that I had put up with the emails for this long, since they had no idea what was going on at all. After all was said and done, I discovered just how much extra stress those emails had added onto my life, and I actually felt rejuvenated and more excited to continue the campaign. It was also a very valuable lesson in drawing boundaries with players, and I now cut off any of this behavior quite early. I don't mind if people disagree with my rulings, and I'm happy to discuss it with my players so that we're all in agreement with how to go forward. But someone questioning all of my decisions as a GM is clearly a bad fit and should not be in my group. I give this advice to other DMs and offer up this horror story as reasons you should not be afraid to have set solid boundaries when you're new to running games. Okay, so...
Oh, goodness gracious.
Rules lawyers. I have a different interpretation than most people do when it comes to rules lawyer. For me, a rules lawyer is someone who tries to bend the rules to benefit them and only to benefit them, as opposed to someone who just remembers the rules and applies it whether to their benefit or detriment. You know?
Well, I think most people interpret a rules lawyer as someone who has, like, memorized the whole book, and if you step out of line once, he's like, actually, on page 137 of the player's handbook, it says this.
Yeah, but only whenever it, like, benefits them, because they're usually...
Oh, no. No. There are definitely ones who will, like... Who are, like... Like, let's say that the rogue, let's say that the rogue has evasion, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say he's misremembered it slightly. And he's like, well, I've got evasion, so I guess that means I avoid the fireball. I evade it. And he doesn't even roll. And the DM's like, yeah, okay.
Well...
Just because, like, it makes sense in the story at that time.
Well, maybe they have reliable talent. Does reliable talent work for saving throws?
Reliable talent doesn't come in until level 11.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but, yeah, no, I don't mind people who just have the rules memorized. I only mind when they only bring it up when it benefits them, and then conveniently forget when remembering would hurt them. Like, you know who...
That's a rules prosecutor.
Okay. Rules prosecutor is the one who only brings it up when it benefits them?
Sure.
I guess. Okay. Well, yeah. Anywho, I don't mind people who have the rules memorized, because it makes my job easier. When Bev played with us, I could always rely on Bev to be able to clarify something that I could not remember. Even outside of the campaign, I always, whenever I'm unsure of if this one thing would work, I always double check with Bev to see if it would be viable. So, because Bev is a reliable person. But this person sending multiple... I want to see the 6-page email. I would love to read it.
Good God.
God, that would be gold. So, you got a story.
Yeah. Sorry, I've been eating some salted sunflower kernels. I asked my brother to get me sunflower seeds last night, and he got me a bag of shelled kernels.
Wait, so they're already outside the seed?
Yeah, it's just
what
the
the fuck?
I know, I was so mildly annoyed.
Yeah, like, that takes the fun out of eating sunflower seeds.
That's a whole other flavor that I'm being denied.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that likes to suck on that seed for like 5 minutes before I break into it.
I'm the kind of person who breaks into it immediately and then sucks on the shell for 5 minutes before spitting it out.
Also, kind of gross, but I found out that if you just kind of like spit it out and you let it dry off, the
hey,
saltiness comes back.
We're a little busy, Scraps.
Are you
shoot,
live?
Yes.
We forgot to go into streaming.
Rip. Surprise, Scraps. Okay.
Surprise, Scraps.
Okay, I'm gonna be gone. I apologize greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording Reddit videos.
Okay.
It's the Posscast. You're not allowed. Only possums.
Boo.
Okay. That was a pleasant distraction. That's Scraps. We play games with him. And also, he is my boyfriend.
Yeah, not mine, though.
Yeah. It's mine! Okay, so, your story.
Yes. This is transphobic incel doesn't realize he's toxic incel.
Oh boy.
That's how it's written.
Yep.
Posted by user odd_neighborhood 9215. 9 days ago.
Oh, nice.
So, like, the second, I guess?
Probably.
It's got... Let me refresh the page so I can get an updated count. 658 upvotes.
Wow. The one that I just read that was posted yesterday had 930.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, let me begin. After watching Den of the Drake, Crit Crab, and making sure no one but the problem player minded, I decided to make an account and post my own RPG horror story that took place not too long ago. This is a new account, so I'm not sure if my post will be filtered or not, but here we go. Me, a human monk. My fiancé, an elven sorcerer. Friend 1, an elven bard. Friend 2, a dwarven paladin. Problem player, a human barbarian. And the GM. Around the end of January this year, one of my fiancé's childhood friends contacted her asking if she was interested in playing some D&D. We both ended up joining in with a couple people the GM knew from college. Outside of a couple one-shots with my fiancé and cousins, I hadn't played D&D for years, so I was super excited to be in another game. After a short Session 0, we started Session 1 in an old village which had recently been under attack. All our characters were drawn together as the attack affected each of us in some way. No noticeable red flags at first. Not long into the first session, however, the problem player's character began flirting with my fiancé's character. My character was married and was going on a quest to find an old family heirloom, and her character was flirty with various other characters. So none of us paid it mind in the beginning. However, the first sign came at the end of the session where he accidentally grabbed her hand.
Oh.
In real life!
Oh god! That's so much worse!
She glared at him, leading him to spurt out, "Oh, sorry, I missed my dice." He followed that up by giving both of us a cheesy wink.
Ew. I'm imagining, like... I'm picturing, like, the kind of neck beard that you see at Magic the Gathering tournaments.
Oh, I'm imagining a sweaty, skinny nerd.
Oh, I was imagining the guy, the kind of guy, you know that guy on Twitter who takes pictures next to people at Magic the Gathering tournaments who have their butt crack showing?
Yeah.
I'm imagining the kind of people that he takes pictures with. You know, the kind that don't wear deodorant and also have their butt crack showing when they sit.
Yeah. Alright.
I'm so
Weird,
glad that guy got unbanned from the tournaments.
Yes. I didn't know that he was unbanned. Everything works out in the end. Alright. Weird, considering how he'd already put his dice away, but we stupidly decided to ignore it for now. The next couple of sessions weren't terrible. Barbarian continued flirting with my fiance's character. She ended up rejecting the Barbarian's advances, which resulted in him throwing a temper tantrum, insisting, "It's just how my character would act." Weird and convenient. Anyway, the GM asked if we could play on the coming Sunday afternoon instead of Saturday, as he wouldn't be able to make it. The bard said that time wouldn't work for him because he had church obligations. He asked if they could do Sunday evening instead. Barbarian rolled his eyes and said, "Oh geez, make us miss D&D for church." He smirked at Paladin, who gave an uncaring shrug.
I'm surprised it didn't turn into a satanic panic kind of situation.
Nah, it's, you know, there are Christians who are reasonable.
I know.
And Bard happens to be one of them. GM, it doesn't matter. I can do Sunday evening if you all can. Will that work? We'll have to cut the session short, though. Barbarian. Figures. Paladin. We changed our last session for you. But my reasons are important. Monk Bard, what do you think? Both my fiancé and I are also Christian, but we don't go to church nearly as often as Bard does. From what we understand, Barbarian thought we were atheists, like GM and Paladin. None of us minded. Yeah, we were disappointed we would have a shorter session, but things come up. Most of us apparently understood that. Not, however, our problem player. Barbarian mumbled something about Bard shoving his religion down our throats and stormed off. Well, he was struggling with a couple classes, so we all decided to cut him some slack. GM said he'd talk to Barbarian tomorrow. While GM didn't tell us at the time, he texted Barbarian asking him what was up. To make a long story short, they got into a rather heated argument. Barbarian said once Bard learned GM was trans, which he already knew, he'd abandoned him just like the GM's family did. For obvious reasons, GM was really hurt by this. He didn't share this story with us at the time, and I'm not sure why he invited Barbarian back after the exchange. Looking back, I wish I would have said something. Yeah, I didn't know, but I still feel like shit thinking about it. Okay. I've correctly interpreted the text.
Okay.
Because I was just reading words and it didn't really click right for me until just now.
Yeah, okay.
The Barbarian, being an asshole, says that because Bard is Christian, once he finds out that the GM is a trans man, which, you know, he already knew, but I don't think Barbarian knew that he knew, that he'd abandon him because of religious reasons.
Yeah.
Okay. The next session came and Barbarian was pissed and smelling of alcohol. GM was jittery and not up to his normal game. We asked if he wanted to cancel that day, but he shook his head and we continued the session like normal. My fiancé, who both in and out of character had grown tired of Barbarian's flirting, shut him down when he asked her character for sex. Out of character, he said, "Come on, your character's single, just like you should be in real life." Me, what? He glared across the table at me. "Look, dude, Sorcerer's pretty and taller than you. She deserves someone like me, not a short, stupid incel." For the record, she's quite a bit taller than me. I'm 5'7" and she's 6'1". And Barbarian is a couple inches taller than her. Me. Fuck off. My fiancé starts to speak. Barbarian shushes her and puts an arm around her shoulders. She shoves him away, leaving him with a shocked Pikachu expression. What the hell? Our characters love each other. Don't be such a bitch and take an incel over me. I'm a nice guy. I don't remember if he specifically said nice guy, but it's essentially what he was going for.
I hate nice guys.
My fiancé. Leave. You can't kick me out. No, we were playing in a large community area. This is GM's game, not yours. GM. Barbarian? If you don't want to leave, can you at least apologize? For what? I did nothing wrong. He's the one, points to me, who's being a total incel and gaslight Sorcerer into dating him.
What the fuck? Where do these accusations even come from?
Because OP is short. OP is 5'7", and his fiance is 6'1".
Ah.
Barbarian's like 6'3".
Jesus.
We tell him to get out. He growls, shouts at the DM saying we'll all abandon him eventually, scribbles his number on a piece of paper, shoves it to my fiance, and storms away. Along with his number, he wrote, "Call me if you want a real man."
Jesus fucking Christ. What kind of, like, in what world would insulting someone's fiance make them want to, like...
Well, you see, he's got a skewed worldview and thinks that any sufficient display of, quote, masculinity will bring the girl over to his side.
He's been watching too much Andrew Tate.
Yep.
Jesus.
Suffice to say, we were all shook up, and had no desire to play any more D&D. I drove my fiancé and GM home that night. When next week rolled around, Paladin texted us asking if we were still interested in playing. My fiancé and I said sure, but not with Barbarian. Everyone else agreed. I wish I could say it ended there. It didn't. Saturday afternoon comes by and it's all of us without Barbarian. GM was too nervous to tell Barbarian, so Paladin, thank God for her, took it upon herself to inform Barbarian he wasn't invited back. The session went fine for a couple hours. Then the door opened. We thought nothing of it at first, as it wasn't uncommon for people to come in. But that's when we heard the telltale shriek, "You bastards started without me!" Barbarian stormed over. We all braced for the worst. Instead of assaulting us, he stood there and spewed out verbal abuse. Calling Bard a religious nutjob who constantly shoves Christianity down our throats, me an incel, and my fiancé and Paladin bitches who don't know a good guy when they see one.
Jesus Christ.
When done with us, he rounded toward GM, who's sobbing at this point, and calls him an idiot who abandoned the only person who cared about him. Still somehow thinking he had the moral high ground, Barbarian dead-named GM and said it's no wonder why his family didn't want anything to do with him.
Oh, God
Good
damn.
Christ.
Fucking hell, this person needs to be punched in the face.
Absolutely. We threatened to call the police if he didn't leave. Barbarian glared at us, ripped up a few of our character sheets, and stormed off. My
What a
fiancé
dick.
Paladin and Bard were quick to block him on social media. I, however, was slow and received this lovely message for him. I can't believe how you treated me. No, how you treated me and Sorcerer. It's obvious she isn't into you. You forced her to date you, and I doubt she really is your fiancé. Be lucky I, the gentleman that I am, did not beat the shit out of you the moment I saw you. I'm done with all your I'm done with all your Napoleon crap. She is too.
I'm done with
We've
all your
had enough.
Neapolitan. Fuck your ice cream.
I'm coming back next session. By then, I expect you to have broken up with a sorcerer and apologize to both of us for being a short little incel. Oh, and tell her and the other two cowards to unblock me, idiots. I'll be there next week waiting my apology.
I don't think he knows what an incel is.
I don't either.
Yeah, incels typically don't even get to the dating phase, let alone, engagement. And typically, if you're in a relationship at the point where you're engaged, more often than not, they're also being intimate, which would kind of get rid of the cell part of incel.
Or, even if they're not, even if they are celibate, it's by choice at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes out the in part.
Yeah, either the in is invalid or the cell is invalid. Either way, if you're engaged, you're not an incel.
Yeah.
Unless you're Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is the only incel I can think of that is married.
Ben Shapiro thinks that it's normal to be completely dry down there.
Yeah. Ben Shapiro brags about giving the worst sex ever. Allegedly.
Back to the story.
Allegedly.
GM also received a nasty message, but he didn't want to share it with any of us. Frankly, I don't blame him. We ended up not playing that week. My fiancé and I were worried GM was suicidal, so we spent the weekend with him. Once he was comfortable enough, we did start playing again, though this time in his apartment. None of us heard from Barbarian again. An acquaintance told me Barbarian was arrested after beating up a girl who rejected him. I don't know if it's true or not, but unfortunately does sound like something he'd do. Either way, I think we're all better off without Barbarian in our lives.
Jesus Christ. I hope he stays in jail for a very long time.
Yep.
Holy shit. So, toxic players like that, kick them out. Like, kick them the fuck out. Kick them to the curb. Don't play with them. They're assholes.
Yep. And, ooh, boy, dead naming the GM when the rant at the end.
Yeah, no, anyone dead names me, and, they'll be lucky if they keep their teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get dead named often, but that's just because I'm not out to my parents.
That's fair.
And it doesn't super bother me.
Yeah.
It's just a word.
Yeah. You gotta do what you gotta do to survive, you know?
Yeah, but it probably will bother me once I'm, actually out and telling them, hey, please don't call me that.
Yeah. I figured you were just waiting till, a situation happens where you don't have to live with them anymore.
Yeah, either moving out or one of them has to go into a home.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty bad because then I'd have to move.
Yeah. So moving out pretty much. Yeah. Don't be a dick. That's what it boils down.
Don't be a asshole.
Once again, the lesson to learn here is don't be an asshole. And also don't go into D&D looking for a romantic partner because it doesn't work. Like, if you go in with the intention of scoring, that's kind of pathetic. and desperate and gross and creepy.
Yeah, especially when it's only been 2 sessions.
And the person...
Maybe if y'all have been playing for like a good few years now and you've developed a deep relationship with this person, sure, go ahead.
Unless they're engaged, in which case, don't.
Yeah. Like, in a situation where you're both single and you've been playing for like long enough to, get a good feel on each other and not literally the second time meeting, don't go grabbing a hand.
Yeah, and also general advice, telling someone that they should break up with their partner and date you instead doesn't work. It makes you come off as an unbelievable jackass.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone think in any capacity that would work? Because it doesn't. At all.
I need to set up a thing where I can just, like, get angry eyebrows put over my avatar.
Yeah, that would be funny. So yeah, I guess that concludes this episode of the Posscast. Rules lawyers, okay sometimes as long as they're not a dick about it. Incels, never okay.
Never okay.
Yeah.
Destroy them.
Yeah. Alright, so, if you enjoy this, we got a lot of, video games on the channel. We got stuff like Hollow Knight. I think Jak and Daxter should be up by the time this goes up. We got Ace Attorney. We got Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah.
And, we got a couple D&D campaigns going on. One of them is Curse of Strahd, which the two of us play in, and the other is a homebrew that I run, which Biddy plays in, called World of Tapir. They have made it back to a city that they haven't been at in like 4 months, or like 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and they are following a lead on a cult.
Yeah.
So, comment challenge of the day. Do you have any favorite obscure rules in D&D? My favorite is the shove action, because it doesn't really get a whole lot of use, and people tend to forget that it exists. But if you're in a fight, you can just shove someone 5 feet.
Hey, you can just push them.
Yeah, you can just push them, which is very useful if you're, like, on a ledge.
Or if they're next to a large bonfire, and then you can grapple them and hold them in there.
Or if they're next to a window. Also,
I was, in one of my past campaigns, one where I played as a different kobold rogue. we had a homebrew crab person.
Yeah.
And she we were fighting bandits, and they had this large bonfire, and she just fucking shoved him into the fire, grappled him, and held him there, and he just like burned to death because he couldn't get out of this fucking barbarian claw grip.
Jesus Christ. Also, using command to tell someone to auto-defenestrate technically shouldn't work, because, you know, command doesn't work if the person believes that following it would cause them immediate harm.
True, but what if they don't know that a fenestration is a window?
You know what? Then it also wouldn't work. If they don't know what the fuck you're trying to command them to do, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you're like, defenestrate yourself, and they're like, I don't have one of those. And then you say, no, it means to throw yourself out a window. Yeah. I don't want to hurt myself.
Yeah, by then, yeah. They have to understand the command for it to actually work.
Yeah.
You could get real creative with that by having them, your players fight some really stupid bandits who don't own a thesaurus. Alright, so with that out of the way, there's no left to say but good night, everybody!
Goodbye!